For decades, we've been told that if you wanted to get a Mazda MX-5, you get it with the soft top and the manual transmission. It's the classic roadster formula. What if you want a bit more isolation from the rest of the world? Well, there's the MX-5 RF. And what if you commute to work every day and your left leg is not as strong as it once was? Well, you get the MX-5 with the automatic transmission. So does checking the wrong box on the options list ruin one of the finest roadsters on sale today? Or can you still have driving enjoyment, but with just a little bit of added comfort? Let's start with the basics. All versions of the Mazda MX-5 are powered by a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. They all produce 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. That doesn't sound like much, but all of these cars weigh at around 1.1 tons. So in a world of 2.5-ton electric SUVs, these cars are featherweights. Unlike modern turbocharged engines that give you a sudden surge of low-end torque and then fall flat, the Skyactiv G engine builds power linearly. It demands that you work for the speed, rewarding precise gear changes with immediate throttle adjusting precision. It's an engine that values how it makes you feel at 60 kilometers an hour over how fast it gets you to 60 miles an hour, or around 100 kilometers an hour. As for the manual transmission that's paired with this engine, it's a match made in heaven. The clutch is light and the shifter feels mechanical. But where the higher trims of the manual transmission really shine is with the addition of a limited slip differential. The base GS trim as well as the automatic versions of the MX-5 don't get this addition. Speaking of which, what about the automatic? Purists will say that it ruins the car, that it loses some of its sports car magic. I can understand that. With this automatic, it's less engaging to drive because I just have less things to do in here. But that doesn't mean that you still can't have fun with it. When you flip it into sport mode and use the paddle shifters, the gear changes are surprisingly crisp. It's by no means as responsive as a Porsche PDK, so you'll have to have a bit of patience with it and anticipate the shifts. But the automatic doesn't turn the MX-5 from a sports car to a fancy golf cart. Yes, you do lose the limited slip differential in choosing the automatic over the manual, so you don't get that lovely mid-corner rotation. But the car still feels agile and it forces you to be a bit more conscious with the throttle inputs. Push it too hard as you exit a corner and you'll just be spinning the inside rear wheel. With the automatic, the engine behaves a little bit differently too. Because the torque converter naturally dampens the harsh inputs, the power delivery feels smoother. The transmission's electronics work hard to keep the revs right in that 4,000 to 7,000 RPM sweet spot when you're driving aggressively. You're also getting slightly better fuel economy when choosing the automatic option. With both transmissions, the Mazda MX-5 can return 9 liters per 100 kilometers in a city environment. But because the automatic version has slightly taller gearing, it can get 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway compared to 7 liters per 100 kilometers with the 6-speed manual. But by far the biggest advantage to choosing the automatic over the manual is daily drivability. It is so much more convenient driving this car in rush hour traffic than it is the manual, and it just makes you feel more relaxed. As for the ride quality, most versions of the MX-5 come with the Bilstein dampers, which are slightly firmer than the standard dampers. The base GS doesn't get them, so it rolls a bit more through corners, which sounds bad, but it means that it's a bit more compliant over bumps. With the sportier dampers, yes, the ride is firm, but not completely unbearable on city streets. Though you'll definitely want to swerve around some of the bigger potholes and uneven manhole covers. With the tops up, you would think that it's this RF that has the more isolated cabin, and that's partially true. What I found out with my little cheap app on my cell phone is that both of these cars produce the exact same amount of noise on the inside with the tops up. It's mostly tire noise that you hear. But there is a difference between this RF and the soft top when the tops are up, and it's mostly with wind noise. You hear less of it in this RF than you do with the soft top. However, things change when you drop the tops. In this RF, if you have the windows rolled up, then it's actually not that bad. But as soon as you roll down the windows, then this back structure creates some sort of buffeting noise because it just catches all the wind. Whereas in the soft top, it's more of a traditional roadster. But in this RF, like I said, if you roll up the windows, then it's not so bad. Speaking of the tops, the cloth version is raised and lowered by your own hands. It's a simple latch mechanism and the speed really depends on how fast your hands can move. With the RF, it takes about 13 seconds to raise or lower the hardtop. It can also be moved while the car is on the move, but it has to be under 10 kilometers an hour or 6 miles an hour. And in case you're wondering, that is very, very slow. Let's just get this out of the way. The Mazda MX-5 was not made for somebody as tall as me at 6'4". If you're, say, 6 feet, maybe 6'1", you'll fit in this car. But for me, it's a little bit too compact, and every time that I brake, my knee is hitting the dashboard. The seats in this GT are okay. It has enough padding for a decent amount of side support, but it just doesn't feel as comfortable as the optional Recaro seats that you get with the Sport package. These seats not only provide better support through corners, but it's actually quite comfortable on a daily basis. As for the trunk, well, it's more so a shoebox at just 130 liters of space. But at least the RF's retractable hardtop doesn't eat into that space when it goes down. There's also a number of small storage bins in the cabin. There's a lockable cubby in between the seats, another small one on the center console that's good enough for some spare change, and there are 2 more cubbies behind each seat. As for convenience features, if you go for a top spec trim like this GT, it comes with an 8.8-inch screen, which does become a touchscreen when you use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, both wirelessly. It also comes with leather upholstery, automatic climate control, heated seats, push-button start, keyless entry, a Bose audio system, LED headlights that turn with the steering wheel, and adaptive cruise control. Using all of these functions is super straightforward. All of the controls are well labeled and are either buttons or rotary knobs. There are no finicky touch controls. It's an interior that is not meant to distract the driver from the job of driving. So is choosing the automatic going to ruin the driving experience of the MX-5? The short answer is no. Of course, it won't have the same sharp driving dynamics of the manual, but it'll still let you enjoy the chassis, the engine, and the sunshine without giving your left leg a cramp. But then what about the age-old question? Soft top or hard top? Well, if you're using this as a weekend toy, then get the soft top, specifically the GSP with the Sport package. I know it's a lot at over $44,000 Canadian, but it's lighter and truer to the original 2-seat Roadster blueprint. But if you want to use this car year-round, then go for the RF with the automatic. It's a weatherproof winter cruiser. And if you'd like to learn more about either of these 2 cars, I have a more detailed comparison review of them over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.